Welcome to the Accountants Exposed podcast, where we create light bulb moments for our listeners by exposing the journeys, secrets, and insights of some of the top players in accounting. This podcast is brought to you by Michael Edelstein, Director and Founder of Recruitment Expert, a specialist accounting recruitment agency working across Australia, New Zealand, and Asia Pacific. Hi, Kylie. Welcome to the Accountants Exposed podcast, and thank you so much for joining me today.
Hey, Michael, thanks for having me.
I'll start by saying how much of it I admire what you've achieved recently. I think Partner of the Year, I've got Certified Consultant of the Year, I've got My Accountant of the Year, I've got Ignition Top 50 Women in Accounting, and I think the list just goes on and on.
Thank you.
What made you go down that path of accolades? Because I can see they're all kind of in the last couple of years.
Yeah. Oh, good question. What made me go down the path? It was an accidental sort of, detour. Not that it's a detour, I guess it just runs side by side. Partly, so I was nominated for something and thought, I may as well put in this application, and I think then it just snowballs from there. The biggest thing I probably get out of awards processes is the team's reaction. It's so lovely for them, and whether it's me or us or whatever it looks like, just to be recognised for what we're doing. And I guess as a business owner, I spend a lot of time telling my staff, you're doing a great job, or here's how you can do it better, or whatever the story is. As a business owner, you look around and there's not a lot of people patting you on the back going, good job. And that's where these come in, it really helps us to know we're on the right track, particularly because while all accounting firms do all the things similarly, like we all have similar-ish services, we all do it our own different way. And as I've come to understand with new staff and that sort of thing over the last sort of 4 to 5 years, we don't do it a normal, traditional way, which, I guess it's a really good recognition for staff to know, hey, we're good. Like this is progressive, it's good.
This works. Yeah, okay. So it's a recognition for the team and also, as you said, for yourself.
Yeah, I guess so.
Can I ask you then, and I know you say that a lot in terms of we do things differently, I follow my own path, etc. What are some of those differences? What makes your firm or your approach different?
Yeah, that's a good question too. I'd spent a lot of time not realizing that we were that different. I am of the belief that accountants, we can offer things in different ways, but virtually we all offer the same sorts of services on the whole. I guess it's the way we do it. So it's not that we're particularly packaging up different services or any of that sort of thing. I think it's our internal processes and procedures that make it different, and not only just for us, but also for our clients. So we went completely digital probably, the best part of 10 years ago. And what that meant for us was we won't let clients drop their paper documents into the office. So,
well, I think most of your clients are remote anyway these days.
Yeah, right? We've probably got about 30 to 35% of clients locally, within, and when I say driving distance, I mean, 30 minutes or less, which doesn't sound like a lot probably for CBDs, but we're at the Gold Coast.
Yep.
Yeah, most of our clients, they come from anywhere, and I think one of the ways that we've managed to build that sort of client base nationally is because we're totally digital. They receive the same service. So if we've got a client in, Sydney, they receive exactly the same service as if we have a client that's physically next door.
And you've been doing the whole remote client thing for how long now?
I don't know, whenever we went digital. Before we were doing it, but it was very slow, good old Australia Post. I would have to look back and see that time frame, but really we were trialing it and testing it, and it was an opportunity for clients, and then we actually did it when Australia Post changed. So that was a long time ago. So do you remember this?
When the stamp went up from 45 cents to $1.10? Is that
well,
when?
Not only that, because I think that's probably more recently. It was when they went, we're not actually offering service every day. We're only going to do service 3 days a week, and we're only going to do this. It was a long time ago.
Yeah, okay. How did you go about marketing yourself to outside the traditional kind of, accounting geographical area?
Yeah, this is probably a fail. We don't do any marketing. We do pay someone to do SEO and that sort of thing. So, bring our website up to the top.
So how did it come about that you 70% of your clients are not within the typical, well, outside of the Gold Coast area?
It's just referrals. I think these days more clients are looking for accountants or advisors not locally. Local isn't really an issue for them, particularly with a distributed workforce or whoever our main point of contact will be, depending on their business size. In actual fact, I do have some clients who appreciate that we are not in their local area, because some places it can be very who knows who and da-da-da, particularly if the business has been around for a long time. We don't really do any official marketing. Most of our referrals, and I'm talking like 95%, come from existing client referrals, which is awesome for us because it means clients come vetted.
Yeah.
Because we are different to a traditional accounting firm, that onboarding process for clients can be a little bit confronting. I had one of my clients, she's been a client for, I don't know, maybe 6 or 7 years, explains it like it's like going to the PT. You go to a personal trainer, it's going to be hard and it's going to be different. But then suddenly it's like, oh, this is a lot. And after you get over the initial like, oh, I'm sore and it's hard and da-da-da, it's really great and it's easy and there's so many benefits. But yeah, I thought that was a really good analogy.
Yeah, okay. I'm still recovering from my sessions on Saturday.
Good on you.
Give me an example though, specific, like what would a client have to go through with you that's different to what a client would have to go through in one of your competitors in Gold
Well,
Coast?
I think obviously the biggest thing would be that change from just being able to drop documents into the office or send them
Does
in.
anyone really still do that?
Heaps of people.
Like, given that everyone's on Maya or Zero or
Heaps
something
of
like,
people. It comes down to not the business stuff particularly, but I see a lot of individual stuff. And even though we don't specialize in individual returns, we really only do individuals for people that are attached to business entities or, sort of high wealth sort of section. There's a lot of documents, but it's not even that. A lot of people just want to email stuff these days. There's privacy issues with that. Like there's all sort of security issues. A lot of the stuff for their tax might have the tax file number on it. That's not okay. Yep. So the move to the portal is a big thing, although probably a few years ago that was a bigger thing than it is now. We are getting some more switched on clients who are coming from accountants that are using portal as well, which makes it so much easier for us.
Okay. Is there a particular tech behind the portal, or is it just something that you developed yourself?
No.
Or...
So we use MyOb AE, and they launched portal forever ago. Like it was an underutilized, like quite a lot of their stuff underutilized.
Most accounting firms are on MyOb AE or MyOb AO, so wouldn't they all have access to the same kind of?
Interesting. I don't reckon most accounting firms are on AE or AO, but the ones that are, they would have had access. Like I remember going to some sort of MyOb seminar or function or something years ago, like, I don't know, long time ago, and they said, oh, who's utilizing the portal? And we were the only ones. And that's when you go, are we doing it wrong? What's happening here? Because I don't spend a lot of time looking sideways. Like I don't really look at what, I'm not even going to call them competitors, but I guess that's what it is in the market. I don't really look around at what other people are doing. We're just very focused on what we're doing. But it's confronting things like that when you sit in a room with a whole heap of other accountants, a lot of whom I know well and have full respect for. And I think, why are we the only ones doing this? What's happening? So in that example, it turned out really well.
What do you think the reason for that is?
It's probably me. I am an early adapter, like an early adopter, sorry, and really I'm a bit of an efficiency queen. Like I have this thing where accountants, we sell time. There's not a lot of other stuff that we can sell. Like I guess we can do a bit of product and da-da-da, but in general we sell time. Like clients pay us for our time. So how do you get more time? Well, you can't. So we need to be as efficient and as productive as absolutely possible. So I saw portal, like the move to this, which is so long ago, as a really awesome efficiency tool, both for clients and for us. It was win-win. But it did
because they can just upload all of their files, and
it's like a library of information. So the way I explain it to people is it's a library of information. How can that be bad? There's no, I sent you this, well, we didn't have it, we don't have it, I've been through the pile of documents, blah blah blah. It's, well, let's have a look. It's not there.
So you were saying, like, look, Portal's been around for 10 years, obviously, plus. And what are some of the things that you've implemented more recently, sort of in the last couple of years, that have well, what else have you implemented that's had the most impact, both on efficiency in your practice besides the portal?
We ended up providing bookkeeping services. It wasn't something that I had planned, but we had a really strong relationship with a bookkeeping firm, and they closed that and went to work for someone. So it was like, do you guys want to take this work on, or we're going to have to sell it to another bookkeeping firm? So I was like, great opportunity, let's bring it in. The issue with bookkeeping is the same as the issue in tax, but multiplied because of the repetitious manner in which you do it, which is when you're missing information, it can just become this phone tag or this email tag or whatever the story was, and that didn't suit our practices, you know. So what we did was we used Slack for our internal comms. I think if I was making the decision again, I'd definitely look to do Teams, but Teams didn't exist when we started Slack. How old do I sound in this podcast? Seriously. But anyway, so
you look young. It's all
yeah,
good.
people can't see me. No, I'm joking. Thank you. So Slack is our internal comms.
Yeah.
And the way we deal with bookkeeping queries is we invite clients to work with us through Slack. So we set tasks for clients, like we manage our own internal tasks, and clients go in there, they see what their outstanding information is, and they upload it through to a separate place, not to Slack. They don't email us. That's a time saving. You know, just to digress a little bit. Sorry, you go.
So you put every client on their own Slack
Yes.
channel? Okay. And then when they get a task, does it go through like Asana or something, or it just stays in Slack and they have to say, yep, done, I've uploaded it?
The integration that we use to Slack is called Kyelie, and it, like Asana, it's a task management tool, so they see all of their tasks within Kyelie in Slack, so they get a notification. Most people...
How do you spell Kyelie, by the way?
K-Y-B-E-R. Yeah,
okay.
Most people have the app on their phone, so they know that it just gets pinged straight to their phone. And it's worked for a variety of reasons, you know. Clients, our emails would get lost, you know, especially bookkeeping stuff where it's every single month or every single week. Mostly it's every single week. Some smaller, it's every single month, but on the whole, it's every single week. So easy for them to ignore. Just ignore us.
Yeah, especially just the amount of information overload we have these days and how busy everyone is.
Yeah, like we've all got those email accounts where we just go, delete, delete, delete.
I ignore most of mine. Yes. Yeah. Unless it's like something I've been waiting for, it's really urgent, I pretty much ignore.
Yeah, we are zero inbox people at IQ, so that makes me very anxious what you just said, but that's okay. But yeah, we want to decrease the clutter. You can lose so much time just in wasted correspondence to people, whereas our Slack tool is amazing. So we had, and it's going back years and years, Slack did write an article about it, so I could pull it and find the stats, but we had something like a turnaround from roughly people would get back to us within 10 days to like less than 3 days.
Yeah, okay. But then what's the follow-up system? So say the person hasn't done the task, or do you get notified when the task is done, or do you rely on the client to respond to?
We are in their files at least every week, so we see what's happened within Slack, so within that thread and Kyelie, so we can see which tasks is done. Yeah, the bookkeeping team.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
They would go into the channel, they would be like, cool, we allocated this task, still no response, let's check it. Okay.
Yeah.
What are they, like, is it a task usually? What's a typical task?
Please upload this missing tax invoice.
Got you. Okay. And then they would just say it's done?
You mark it as done and it disappears.
Yeah. Inside Kyelie. Yeah, okay.
It completes.
And hopefully they've actually
done.
Well,
we don't mark it as done. We mark tasks as done.
Well, you mark it as
clients
done,
can sort of give us a little bit of a narration or whatever the story is. Like, I don't have that invoice. I'm never getting that invoice. Or it was personal. Or they'll say, hey, we've uploaded it. We just checked that it's right. So Slack is part of our bookkeeping process.
And do you force your clients to be on one particular system? Like, you're a Maya person, for example, but I have a lot of firms that are now like, no, we only take 0 clients.
Yes and no. Like, MyOb is definitely our preferred system because of the efficiencies that it drives. We use all of the components in AE, which is an evolving situation as MyOb, comes to cloud. But if they're on MYOB, it's less time for us. So the thing, I guess, is we will take clients that aren't on MYOB, but it costs more because it's more time. And we're
so really charge them more.
Absolutely. We're really upfront about that.
Okay. So if a client is on Xero or on Intuit or QuickBooks, whatever it's called, Reckon, what would you do? Like, do you
have to convert things? Is that why it costs more? It's just like,
Um,
because wouldn't you be able to still upload the data
you
into
can still
your,
upload the data in. It's pushing
yeah,
it out that's the issue, because then it's a more
okay.
manual process. We know that with certain other products, particular, and it depends, like it doesn't always cost that much more. It might be 1 hour of admin time, but
Yeah.
depending on whether they have a bookkeeper, an internal accountant, whether they're just maybe a little bit smaller and doing it themselves, it really comes down to the same as all data files, the quality
Hmm.
of that source data.
Yeah, okay. And do most of your clients do their bookkeeping with you as well? Like
No, it's
majority?
not. It's
No,
it's
okay.
not something that we push. Definitely not the majority. It's a service that we offer. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, it's a service that we offer, but it's not something
Is
we
it
push.
profitable?
Yep.
Okay. Because I know like some practitioners that I talk to, they say bookkeeping for them is kind of a loss leader sometimes.
No, definitely profitable. Um, definitely profitable, and we're not
Okay.
even charging at the top rate. Like we're quite an
Because I was
economical
saying the
system.
margins are a bit kind of low. But then do you have different staff allocated to, or are your staff
No,
kind
we
of
have a bookkeeping
capable of,
team. We have a
yeah,
bookkeeping team.
okay.
The way that I like it's become more profitable over time, and it's because you have to use tools and efficiencies and processes, and I'll be daring and tell you, we have to be bossy with our clients. We have to say,
Hmm.
if you want your bookkeeping fee to be this, you need to do this. And that's
Okay.
communicate with us weekly, give us the stuff, use Slack, do all of these. We have non-negotiables both ways, because what often you find in bookkeeping is clients want end of month reports by the 7th, and you don't even have all the information on the 1st. So how are you supposed to do that?
Yeah.
And then if you multiply that out by the number of bookkeeping clients you've got, the numbers don't work, and that's where you get lost time and da da da. So by having our systems and our processes and our non-negotiables, and giving friendly reminders to clients about our expectations of them for this to work, it works really well for us.
So you've got the portal, you've got Slack slash
Carbo, yeah.
Kyber. What else? Because I mean, you make I guess your client that said it's like going to PT session seems like very painful. I'm like, it's just
why,
a portal
why would
and
you go?
like
Yeah,
downloading the app. I'm like,
come on,
come
it's
on.
not hard. Um,
Yeah,
so
there must be something else you do
we use
that's gotta be,
we
it's gotta have a high pain factor.
do. I guess the high pain factor is the tech. So if you have come from an maybe older traditional style accounting firm that hasn't embraced any of this stuff, um, it's very painful because it's all foreign. We still have clients that come to us that are
Okay.
looking for a little bit more progression and, ways to get information faster, that don't
Yeah.
have bank feeds set up, or
Mm,
that don't, or that, the husband and the wife share one email address and that becomes their digital signature. So how does that work? So that's where the pain comes in. It's not that we're particularly tech, high tech, but we just do all of the things.
so is that it though? Is it just the portal and Slack and
For
Kyber, or is there
bookkeeping, we
more?
make clients use Dext, so we use Dext for our
Okay.
internal bookkeeping clients. So, I guess it's multifaceted, but that's it. We don't have, like most accounting firms are doing this in some way, shape, or form. We have a
That's
lot
what
of
I'm saying. Like,
forms, we have
yeah.
onboarding process, we're doing digital ID checks now. It can just be confronting when you become a new client, and it's like, right, here's your forms to fill out electronically, here's your digital ID, you've got to use the portal and sign up to the portal. Um,
Yeah.
mm, like I think people just want things to be easy these days, and I don't think that any of that in isolation is particularly hard. But when you add it all up, it can be difficult. Not that clients don't. We've never had a client not on board with us because of our
Mm.
processes, but we often get the feedback, wow, this is so much more than I had to do with my prior accountant. When I went to my prior accountant, I just said, yeah, let's
You
go,
just,
and then that was it. And I didn't
yeah.
hear from them until tax time.
Yeah. The
That's what you
typical
get.
kind of
Yeah.
experience.
Mm.
Yeah.
Where we're
Okay.
pretty strong on the comms, so it's a lot.
Okay.
Mm.
And do you put all your clients on a package where you are doing tax planning with every single one of them, and you are doing some sort of management reporting
Um,
and business advisory and all of that?
no, we offer a hand-holding approach, so we will tailor our services to meet the client's needs. So we're
Okay.
not one size fits all or package A, B, C, pick one, definitely not. We will meet the client's needs. And, we have clients of all different shapes and sizes. Like some clients have a fully, functional internal accounting system with accounting team with a CFO. And then we've got opposite end of the scale clients, mum and dad businesses. They're doing the bookkeeping themselves and everything themselves. So you have to think, well, what different services do we need to offer?
Yeah, okay. And then you package it up and it's like a monthly fee, and then
we only do
direct debit?
We do direct debit. We use Ignition for our fee proposals, so that accounts receivable side of things is really seamless. We're very upfront with fees, so we do a fee proposal for most things, but we only charge bookkeeping on a monthly basis. Bookkeeping and advisory and, sort of anything that we're doing on a repetitious basis, we will charge monthly, but we don't split the tax work out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why is that? Because I know some firms have gone that way.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that there's so much merit in that. And from, a cash flow point of view, that makes complete sense to me. But the reason for me is because the client's work is never the same. So there will always be a winner and a loser. And I think more often than not, it's the accounting firm, because people, as an industry, we're really good at getting the work done and we're really good at helping the client. But are we that good at going back to the client and going, oh, this is out of scope, here it is? Whereas the way we're currently doing things, and I'm not saying we'd never change, because I'm, open to change all the time, but the way we currently do it is we look at what needs to be done, we have a conversation with the client, and then we do a fee proposal for that.
So every year it's a new fee proposal just before tax time, after
when
the tax
we receive the
session,
documents.
Or... Okay, so basically now after July you'll be receiving documents
already,
and then
fee proposals,
going through it and then coming up with fee proposal. Doesn't that take extra time and therefore reduce efficiency versus like someone that it's already done in the first fee proposal?
The problem with packaging is clients have no transparency over what it is, despite accounting firms being awesome at telling them exactly what they're paying for, and it's just divided by 12 and it's 12 equal payments. Clients never know. And that's the problem. We have had exceptional client growth, mostly from lack of transparency in fees, which is another reason why we say, right, give us your stuff, we'll review it, we'll figure it out. But doesn't
that create anxiety because you never know how much you're going to get charged?
No, no. People know that it's upfront and they can just say, oh no, that I don't want to pay that, and I'll go and get someone else to do it. That's fine. That's the only time we would ever lose. We have an acceptance rate of 99% or something, so it's probably 100. I don't know. It's very rare that people will say, oh no, I don't want to pay that. The efficiency, I guess, comes from when we do the fee proposals. That's not an administrative task, that's an accountant task. So the accountant looks through the work, they figure out exactly what they need to do, they figure out what the margin is, how much time they are going to need for it, what extra stuff needs to be done, loan agreements, blah, blah, blah. And then we genuinely charge for every single thing.
Okay, what does that mean? Like, do you figure out like that's going to take us 6 hours, or do you go, okay, 2 loan agreements, this many transactions equals 5 cents per transaction? Like, how do you work
combo?
It out?
So we definitely have fixed fees or starting from prices for, let's just talk about company financials, and is everything reconciled? Is it all good? Does the bookkeeping look great? Great, they can go into this, and then we go, well, that means this hours for this accountant. Is that enough? Yes or no? No, because blah, blah, blah. Well, where's the extra value coming here?
Okay. And then does every accountant in your team work that out for themselves? Or
I review them all.
Do you have to...
I check them all off. I check them all off, but that takes no time. Like, I just do that once every few days, and it's a bulk check and email them to the clients. Well, the system emails it. We don't email them. But yeah, so from an accountant's point of view, it puts them in really good stead to know exactly what this job is about, what stuff they're missing even, probably takes 5 to 10 minutes.
Really? Just to have a quick look in the file and just to figure out what needs
Well, they
to be
also
done
have to
straight
review
away.
the information that we've been provided.
They,
separately.
the client, or
the team?
accountant?
Yeah, our team.
The team,
yeah.
okay. Yeah, okay. Going back for everyone's benefit, can you share a little bit about your kind of journey into accounting?
Yeah.
Because you keep saying like how old you are. You must be like,
I feel old when I say things like teams didn't exist.
But actually, speaking of teams, you said you would rather be on team. Like if teams had existed, you'd prefer to be on teams.
Look, I don't know that I would prefer, because if I would prefer, then I would have swapped. Like I said, we're not married to anything. We embrace change. But Teams, Office 365, like everyone's using it. we're using all of the functionality for it, SharePoint, blah, blah, blah. It makes sense to me because it's in that system. I also pay for it.
Yeah.
Like it's, is Teams free? Who knows?
Yeah.
Like that's debatable.
Slack
is not free.
Yeah.
No, we pay. Definitely, we pay for that.
Okay. But you haven't gone that far to go, it's worthwhile to change.
I have reviewed it. Internally, it would not be a big deal. We'd be able to do that.
It's
the bookkeeping clients. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So do you use Slack for your just normal clients or just bookkeeping?
Just bookkeeping. Yep.
Okay. Because normal clients also would have missing information, etc.
But
the
way we get them to give us their stuff, which is through a variety of, processes, we don't end up with a lot of missing things. It's normally like, oh, you closed this bank account during the year and you haven't given us that. And it's probably because when we ask for their stuff, it comes pre-fills and comes up 30th of June bank statement. They don't have one for that because they closed it in January, whatever the story is. Yeah.
And that's because you just use checklists for everything? For them?
Yeah, pretty much. We have a form to fill out and a checklist of information that we require.
Before they submit everything up to a portal?
Yeah.
Okay. Fair enough. And it's all electronic, the form, everything. Okay. So sorry, back to my question. Your journey, because I saw your LinkedIn profile. You just have
nothing.
Your current practice, and your accountants, and that's it. There's hardly anything.
Yeah, I'm not great at putting all of that stuff on LinkedIn. So, like I said, I'm pretty much head down all the time. Okay, so my journey. I studied accounting at uni, obviously, and halfway through uni, so I was halfway through my degree. I was just working at McDonald's at the time because I had been since I was 14.
In Gold Coast.
In Toowoomba.
Toowoomba, you're a Toowoomba girl.
And I went and put my resume in at an HR place because Seek did not exist. And I wanted a retail job, I just wanted a change. And they rang me about a job at an accounting firm because obviously I had that I was studying accounting. And I said, oh no, I just want a retail job. I need 20 hours a week retail or hospo or whatever. No. And my boyfriend at the time, who's now my husband, said to me, you are crazy. That is just, you have to at least go along for the interview if this is the industry you want to work in. Go and check it out.
Yeah, I was going to say, you're studying for it.
I know, I was a young uni student. Who knows what I was thinking. They rang me at 7 o'clock in the morning. It was probably 9.
What made you choose accounting to begin with?
I wanted to come out as a something. So I wasn't going to go... I'm very driven. I was I don't I didn't like science that much, so I knew health was not on the table for me. And I'd only done one science as well, which was a bit of a barrier because when I looked at that, it was probably a bit late. So I was I want to come out and be a something. And I really liked legal studies and I really liked accounting at school. Because
So why not law then?
It felt like the hard way to go. I knew that I could get into accounting and then do tax law. And when I looked at the scope of what accountants did versus the scope of what lawyers did and how much time it took to actually start practicing, that's why I went the commerce route.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I kind of had a similar thing. I was like, this takes way too long.
Exactly. I have my life planned out, I need to be earning money by now. So, that's how I ended up. But anyway, long story short, went along for the interview. And it was the second job interview I'd ever had. I literally had worked at Macca's since I was 14. So, you just go along in your school uniform to that. And I was pretty sure I would get that job. The interview went well. I liked what they said. They liked what I said. Those two guys I have full respect for. I'm in pretty close contact with one of them, and got the job. And then suddenly I worked full-time and did uni part-time externally before they were streaming tutes and stuff. So tutes and lectures. So that was fun. So I certainly did it the hard way. It was a tough couple of years to finish off my degree.
Okay. So you finished that off. Did you stay in that firm?
I did. So then, fast forward a bit, they offered me a partnership. At that stage, my husband and I were getting married and we decided to relocate to the Gold Coast.
And how old were you at this
23, 24.
So you've been in the practice, 5 years?
Yeah.
5 or 4
5
years?
years.
5 years,
and I was I'd never really, I'd thought about owning a firm, but I was very happy with where I was at. So when we were relocating to the Gold Coast, I just assumed that I would just get another job, you know.
Yeah.
But no, the guys were really great. So we ended up,
How big was the practice, by the way?
oh man, there was 2 partners. They had a main office in Toowoomba. They had a couple of sub offices. Yeah, I think staffing probably went from 10 to 15 over that sort of time.
Okay.
Yeah.
What made them offer you a partnership, but like straight out of uni, basically? Like, were you even a CA by that time?
CPA. I was done. I'd finished my
CPA, sorry,
CPA
yeah.
by the time I bought in, obviously, because I needed to. But
Yeah.
it was pretty close. Like, and I don't even think, like, by the
Okay.
time I got my certificate, because I never went to the ceremony or anything like that. So I was busy
Who
working.
has time for such things? Yeah.
Exactly, I was busy working. Yeah, like I think that was even the year after or whatever. I think part of it was probably me getting married and moving. They were like, whoa,
Yeah.
who's going to do this work? But also, like, I was pretty, like, I really loved what I did. Like, I do. I
Yeah.
still love what I do. And I think probably from a young age, I really showed that I wanted to be there, that I loved the work, and that I could make a difference with clients. So,
Did you bring a lot of clients on? Like, what?
Not at
'Cause
that time.
usually, partnership is always business development based.
not at that time. I was a real, and one of the partners was is still particularly entrepreneurial, big picture, you know, really in that space. Someone needs to actually be able to take that vision with that client
Yeah.
and then manage the client and get it done. So that was probably more where I sat in. And like, I had a bit of a love and, you know, for practice management as well. So when I was going to move, they bought a small parcel of fees down here at the Gold Coast, like small, like less than 100 grand. And
Yeah.
I took some of the clients that I'd been working on in Toowoomba, and just worked on them from down here, and then I built the client base up from there. And then I was like, oh, hang on, this is not working for me. I'm building this client base down here on the coast, and I've got to split profit between the 3 of us. This isn't the best. So then I bought my business partners out, and that didn't happen overnight. It was like over, you know, the next
But wouldn't
5
you
to
have been
6 years.
getting, your third of their business in Toowoomba as well?
Yes.
So isn't that kind of equalized?
No, it wasn't for me.
Okay.
because we grew at such a rapid rate down here.
Okay. How'd you go about growing it then?
Ooh,
Because you hadn't done business development
no, I hadn't.
until that stage. Yeah.
Really good referrals, you know, and one of the partners was living down here. When I bought in, one of the partners sort of retired, semi-retired as well.
Yeah.
So he had networks down here, and he moved down here as well, but did not work in the office because he'd semi-retired. But he was really good because that gave me that mentorship, and even though I was down here running this office by myself, he was always there. I didn't feel alone, which was super important. Particularly, I look back like at a pretty young age to be running a firm.
Did you have staff for that time,
Yeah.
or start out by yourself?
Yeah, no, we had staff. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So, yeah, that was a lot. So he obviously was just out meeting people, and he's awesome like that. Just meets people and connects with them.
What was their reaction to when you said, "Hey guys, I kind of want to, go out"? on my
No,
own"?
I don't think anyone was surprised. It was a really long time ago, and I don't think about that often, but I don't think anyone was surprised, really. Yeah. And it happened
Okay.
over a long period of time, and it wasn't awful.
So it wasn't like a year later.
No,
it was
no.
years
It was
later.
like 5 or 6 years later.
Okay, fair enough. So they got enough money out of it.
Yeah. Oh, God, yeah. I paid market rate. Come on.
No, it's interesting because I don't think many people know your sort of background story.
I don't talk about it a
Sort of-
lot. Yeah.
You don't talk about it.
Not
Yeah, that's
really.
why I was curious. Why? What I've been trying to figure out, because like whenever I speak to young accountants, or even actually practitioners more so, they always say the young accountants these days they really don't enjoy the menial parts. Like any grads, cadets that come in, they do it. Maybe look, the traditional thing is you do it to get your CA and then you move on, or CPA, and then you go to commerce or whatever. But even the grads these days, they go into accounting and they just don't want to do the menial tasks. Like it's boring for them.
Yeah.
And I imagine it would have been even more menial when you started.
Yeah.
Because we didn't have
Anything.
all this automation. So anything, yeah. There's no Slack.
We had big cash
there's
books.
no- Exactly. There was no time to slack off. So what made you love it? That's what I'm curious about. Because you said like I really love my job and the difference I
I
can make.
do love it. The thing that I love is I love being able to explain complex problems to clients in an easy to way, understand, and see those light bulb moments. That's, I think, what made me love it. I am also, as a person, I thrive on structure and routine and all of those things. And like, this is the perfect industry for me, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So I think,
Were you always like that? Is it like
yes.
a thing that runs in your family, or is it just you and your innate
Oh,
personality?
my brother is very different, so let's not say it runs in my family. But I was always like that. Like, I was like that at school.
Do you think it's just innate? Like
Yeah.
just born that
Yes,
way?
because I am an old soul. Like, my dad even says, I was like this adult living in this 12-year-old's body or this 8-year-old's body. So, and eldest child, da da da, writings on
More
the wall.
responsibility. Because you got kids
I
now.
do. I have a 12-year-old and a 10-year-old.
Yeah, do you see them being similar? Because like you would obviously probably be very structured at home as well.
Yes. So interesting. I've had to let
Bedtime by
go.
7.
Yeah. Well, I've had to let go of that. My husband stayed at home with our children, which was
Yeah.
amazing. That really suited our family. So I had to become more relaxed about the way things were done. And, really at that time, he's the primary parent and he does not work full time, so that he can do things for our kids, that they need, which is great. So I would like to probably be a bit more structured at home, but that's okay. It's a teamwork. My daughter's very much like me, and I've noticed that this year as she's gone into grade 7 and had to deal with a lot of
Yeah.
different, subjects and blah, blah, blah. My son is the complete opposite. It drives me absolutely nuts. He's like, if I'm getting more than a C, I'm working too hard. you know.
I love that.
Yeah.
So your husband isn't that structured then, I imagine.
He's definitely not as structured as me. Jeff and I have been together, since before I started working in this industry.
Yeah.
So we have grown together. But yeah, he's definitely not as structured as me personally, naturally. Yeah.
Yeah, and it probably drives you crazy sometimes as
I
well.
think he is my best compliment. He is like the perfect complement to my personality. So I think if we were two the same, that might not work. I think it's a
Yeah.
perfect balance.
I find it interesting in relationship because like even my wife, like there's times when you go, why can't you just be like this? But then you also realize that if they were like that, your life would be very different.
Totally. I have said to him, if you could just see it my way without me having to tell you, that would be really helpful for me. But it's good. It works.
And then kids is, yeah, as you said, it's a whole new ballgame.
Ball game.
Yeah, very hard to impose your own structure on two little beings that have their own souls and
It
personalities.
is, and I think, as a woman in this field, that balance of kids and family and all of that has been a journey over time as well.
How do you deal with, this is an interesting thing, because like I've got single moms that work for me as
Yeah.
as recruiters, but they're like recruitment is a super demanding role. It's like you're just always on because
Comms.
like your candidates are, only available after hours. They go for interviews after hours. Like you're just always on. So it's mentally draining because you're also on the phone 6 to 8
Yep.
hours. So one thing they always tell me is the mum guilt factor. Like their kids are always guilting them into, mum, you never have time for us. And especially as a single parent, it's even harder. Like at least with a couple, then you've got the other sort of parent that can
Yep.
do the parenting
Yep.
part. How did you manage that sort of?
Yeah, early on, like I'm big on expectations, and so I didn't set high expectations for myself. Like I really want to set people up for success, and that includes myself. It certainly includes my husband and our family. So when we decided to have children, I knew that I would not be the stay-at-home person because of where the business was at that stage. To be fair, I think I'd only not that long ago, like it was within a couple of years, just it had become my business and I'd bought out those business partners, which sounds crazy now, but we really wanted to make it work. So we knew that my husband was going to stay at home. We knew that we were going to, try and, God willing, get some kids close in age because that's what we really wanted, and it also reduced the time that he would be away from the workforce as well because he, in some way, shape or form, enjoys the work that he does. But that changed over time once he spent time with the kids and, was at home with them. The mum guilt is real, but so is the work guilt. And for me, it was equal because I used to joke, and it's still true. Like, this is my work family. So these guys, I have an obligation to them, and it's the same as my obligation to my actual family. I have an obligation to them too. So how do you balance it? When I was at home, I'd feel guilty about work. When I was at work, I'd feel guilty about home. That was not doing me any favors.
No, because you're never at ease. You never actually, you're not enjoying either, really.
No.
And you're never present for either.
Yes. So that is my hot tip. Really for me, it was right. I can't feel guilty anymore because I'm not giving anyone my best self, and I want to be that version of my best self. So it's about being present in exactly as best you can in exactly the space that you're in at that time. So
how do you do that though?
Well, if I'm at work,
it's easy to say, but yeah.
Scaffolding is how I do it. So if I'm at work, I know that I have made decisions to be here on this day and on this time, and I need to commit fully. If I'm at home, there's reasons why I'm at home, so work needs to sort itself out. I don't just disappear. I'm very structured. I make sure that people know what they're doing. This needs to happen, blah, blah, blah. And from both sides, I'm always contactable. So I'm always available.
Well, then how do you do presence then? Because in a client-centric environment, like same as recruitment, we get clients and candidates. So we have two sets of clients, the clients and the candidates. So we get calls throughout the day, all times of the day and night. Imagine in accounting, like you would also have the same issue. Like clients go, "Hey, Kyelie, I'm at the car yard. I'm buying this car. Like I don't know, should I do innovating? Should I pay them cash? Like what do I put in the invoice? Like how do you?" But you're at home and you're like, cool, I want to be present for my kids. How do you balance that client-centric approach to being present as a parent?
Boundaries, I make it no secret that I do both. I'm a parent and I'm a business owner, and I have boundaries so that I don't have to be the one that answers that call. And if the clients aren't happy to ask one of my other staff, then maybe they're not the best client for us.
But do you give your clients your mobile?
Look, a lot of them have it. No, we don't openly hand it out, but if someone asks for it, they will be given it depending on the client that they are,
Okay, but then you just wouldn't accept calls? Like, what is the boundary? That's what I'm trying to understand. How do you impose it?
I generally won't accept calls. So if I'm not at work, I generally won't accept calls because clients don't default call me on my mobile. They will default call the office. And if the office says she's not at work at the moment and can return your call at 2 o'clock, then if they ring my mobile, there's a power imbalance there. You know what I mean? Like, we're offering the service and the service isn't available right now. I often tell people we're accountants, not heart surgeons. Like, it's your urgent is not necessarily our urgent. And while we offer hand holding, and that sounds like the worst client service ever, it's actually just really strong, clear, upfront communication,
Okay. Does that mean do you separate your kind of work environments? Like you actually come into the office when you want to work and do the work?
No. Used to, yep. Years and years ago, 100%, I would come into the office and work. That was for various reasons, including the fact that my kids were little, and it's not possible to work at home when they're little very productively.
Really hard. And you came back to work pretty soon after your kids, didn't you?
I didn't have any time off.
A week
I
like literally went to full-time back straight away.
Full-time hours, definitely, but what that looked like as far as was I at the office that whole time, no. I came back 3 or 4 days a week straight away, like contact.
Okay.
Yeah, but that was about where the business was at that time. Like, if I was having children now, it would be different,
Because it's more set up and established. Has that been because you were having kids or you were pregnant, was that a big efficiency driver for you and like put in structures, or was that not really? It's always been the same?
It's always been the same, but that probably accelerated things. It probably made me make braver decisions. Because as accountants, it's hard, right? Like, we are in this traditional industry. Accountants, as a rule, we're set in our ways. We don't like change. We just want to do the same thing over and over because that's how we think efficiency works. So it really made me change the culture of the firm. So it wasn't just me leading and pushing these things out to staff and clients, whether they liked it or not. It was getting them on board, operating collaboratively, me not having to be the ideas person, having projects in-house, doing all of those different things so that really as a firm we were driving that change and efficiency approach, and it wasn't just coming from me.
How do you get that culture though, unless without giving them all equity as well? so they feel that ownership.
Staff love ownership. Like they love to feel in control of something and like they have a say. So I asked people, like it's partly about your hires, you know, recruitment's hard at the moment, as you well know, but it's partly about who you want on your team and what skill set they have and what desire they want. Like most accountants these days want something outside the box, whether that's flexibility, which isn't that far out of the box, but you know, they want control of the client. Well, that's fine. Control of the client's cool, but what does that look like? How are we helping this client? Are we helping them by just doing compliance work? No. You know, they don't need advisory because they've got this and they come to us ad hoc. That's fine. How else are we going to help them? So it's about empowering people to see where the gaps are and coming up with a solution. Like I always say, we need to be solutions driven.
Okay. So, I mean, what is the typical tenure for your staff? Because you've got a team of what, 8 or 10?
Yeah, tenure. I don't know. I have to. We use Employment Hero. I think that's one of the things that I can have a look. Look, before the last few years, so pre-COVID, it was long. Like I reckon maybe 8 years.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, since COVID, I
And
wouldn't
how did
know.
COVID change that?
COVID changed it because we worked from home a lot. Like we've actually only just come back to the office in July properly.
Okay.
And I've still got staff everywhere, you know, like we're pretty flexible.
I was going to say, what does properly
Yeah.
mean? Like, does anyone have to come into the office at all? Or
Yeah,
not?
like sort of, you know, the grads and intermediates are coming in.
Yeah.
But if they're meeting their budget, then there's more flexibility there. It's just about where they're at and what they need. I was getting feedback from, you know, my intermediate that they certainly wanted to be in the office, like they missed overhearing conversations and that sort of thing. So we'll regroup on that at the end of September after a 12-week trial back and see how everyone feels. We've just had a new client services person start, so it works that there's some of us in the office, and by some, like it's literally just some on various days.
Yeah.
But we have a fully remote bookkeeper, fully remote senior accountant. They just never come in unless we organise it.
Okay. But what's your policy at the moment that you're trialing? Is it like a specific number of days in the office, or is it
at the moment
everyone comes in on Friday for lunch? How does it work
at the
for you?
moment, if you haven't been employed on a remote or flexible basis as far as your workplace, we're in the office. But that means
5 days.
there's only 2 staff that fit into that because all of the other staff have been hired on a, well, no, they're not even in, one of them's not even in the office 5 days because they work a 4-day week.
Yes.
Every single one of my staff has flexibility of some degree. I think that it would be naive of us to assume that the only flexibility that exists is remote work, hybrid work, work from home, whatever you call it. There's other things that people need. They need short work hours. They need a 9-day fortnight or an 8-day fortnight or this many days this week, this many days this week. You know, there's a lot of different flexibilities being in the
Does
office.
it affect your
isn't it?
delivery?
No, but only because I balance who's doing what at what time. So we are super flexible as far as bringing people on, but
Yeah.
we need to figure out what they need at that time from the get-go and then reassess that when their needs change. Because I just can't have everyone work 3 days a week. How's that going to work? You know, I do need some regular cover and that sort of thing.
Yeah, okay. What's your process? Like you mentioned it's hard to do recruitment and, you know, choosing the right people. What is your process to make sure you did get the right person?
This is another reason why I think it is hard for us, because people, particularly let's say intermediates and senior accountants, they come in and they want to work in a progressive firm. They want to deal electronically. They want the work from home experience to be seamless, like they just set up exactly like at work and da-da-da, and we certainly offer that. But it's a shock to their system because in some way, shape or form, they have to relearn to do tasks that they've always done a certain way. And not everyone copes as well as you would hope for.
It's just people coming from other
Yeah.
firms. Yeah, okay.
Even client services, you know, we had someone start a few weeks ago in client services and she has worked with all of our systems before but not utilised all the components like we use them. So she said, wow, this is a full culture shock because you guys just internally, you know, it's Slack, it's this, it's that, da-da-da. It's different.
Was there anything else then besides what sort of you mentioned with the client side, like Slack and Portal, etc.? Like, what else is a big shock for a typical accountant coming from another practice?
I don't think in isolation anything is the big shock. It's just that we do all of them, you know.
Okay.
So, like for client services,
How long is the transition then? Like, how long would it take for them to get up to speed?
4 to 6 weeks.
Yeah, okay. So it's not too bad.
We have a really strict orientation process though, but yeah, 4 to 6 weeks.
Like with videos and everything? Or...
Hybrid.
Okay.
So videos, we do some staff one-on-one, which solves the problem of people getting to know each other and doing that icebreaker thing as well.
Do you just use like Loom and put it on? Do you have like an intranet or a drive, OneDrive or something like that? Is that how it
SharePoint.
works?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, and obviously an
And you record all the
orientation
videos?
checklist. I don't record them all. It's everyone's responsibility to record Loom videos.
Yeah, okay. And what's your recruitment process? Like, how do you go about finding people and interviewing and figuring out who's good, who's
Oh
not?
man, like seriously, this is a tough one because if you had asked me this pre-COVID, it would have been a totally different answer. My recruitment process is I won't settle. So I know that I want really good quality staff that will fit my existing team because we're not a huge team. One bad seat upsets the apple cart. I can teach anyone to do the work depending on the level that I'm hiring them for. Is that attainable? So I'm looking for the right person with the right skill set / ambition. So people can't come here if they don't want to have relationships with clients because we are relationship based. So if people don't want client contact, and those people exist, you know.
Oh yeah, we've got plenty that say I don't want to do anything with clients, but I want to earn 120K.
Exactly.
Just to do my compliance work. I'm like, I could get someone in the Philippines to do it for a fraction of the price.
Exactly. So how does that work, you know? So for me, all of my staff have client contact because I can't do it all. Like even though I guess I'm the face of this show, I can't do it all. And I need clients to form relationships with my staff and form trust and all of that sort of thing as well. So it's really for me about finding the right people. I know they've got to have a certain amount of tech skills because we use a lot of integrate, like, you know, they have to understand how processes work and how things flow, be open to change, be willing to, you know, do the same job but in a different way than they've done it before.
Okay, so what's your process then? How do you discern that?
I talk to people. Because if you just ask them, can you do this? Do you want this? Blah, blah, blah. If people want the job, they just say, yeah. And in their defense, I think they do want all those things. They just don't realize how hard it's going to be. So it's my job really to explain practically what that looks like and how that works. Find out what their actual experience is, how they've been doing things step by step almost. You know, I ask a lot of questions and I really try and get to know the person. Will they fit our culture?
Okay. So one interview, like?
It depends on the role. Generally, it's at least 2.
Okay, with you or with you and someone else?
Me and someone else, and that someone else depends on who the role is.
The level. Yeah, okay. And what are your kind of like must ask or best questions you love going to that help you discern?
Yeah, I don't have a standard one, but excuse me for a sec.
You don't have a structure, you're telling me?
No, I have a structure, but it's not like I go, these 3, I have to ask the same 3 questions. Like we have we have 20 questions, I think is probably it. I add some, take some off all the time, but we have certain specific questions we want answers to. Some of those questions are the same question, just asked in a different way, depending on their experience or whatever they're coming from. I always want to know what their perfect job looks like. So if you got to design your perfect role, what would that look like? That's probably the question I ask every single time.
That's your telltale. Well, what's a telltale? Like the one that kind of you go, yeah, that question is the one that kind of gives me a really good idea whether they're right for us or not.
That's the question, I would say.
That's the
question.
Yeah,
because some people are just, oh no, just whatever the firm needs. And that's fine. Like there's no wrong answers here, but it speaks differently to someone that says, look, in my perfect role, I would do this work, I wouldn't do this work, I would do this with clients, I'd be in charge of this, and I'd only work these days, or whatever. You know, you really know that that person is in control of their own career, and they're just probably at a different phase in their life.
Okay. And you said the way you do things now is different to the way you would have done them pre-COVID. What are some of those differences?
Internally, there's not too many differences. Like we evolve all the time. Like we're constantly making changes internally. It's probably more about recruiting. You know, as you know, it's getting harder to recruit people. It's hard to find good quality staff. And previously, you know, pre-COVID, I might put an ad up and get 30, 40 applicants. And half of them would be good. It would be a real,
Half of them.
yeah,
Really? That many?
yeah, like a really good, depending on the role. I know. I don't
Yeah,
know
okay.
why. We just got lucky, I think, with applicants. And probably it's because pre-COVID we were already doing remote work. So I've had fully remote staff onshore for a long, long,
Yeah.
long time. So
Okay.
that probably helped us get a lot of really good quality applicants. But now everybody's offering that. Everyone's offering hybrid or remote or whatever the story is. So that's probably the factor that has decreased our luck with candidates. But also, I'm super fussy. Like I make it I don't muck around with the fact that is this a difficult place to work? Yes and no. Like we're super fun. We are super nice, super accommodating. We do proper training, all of those sorts of things.
Yeah.
But it might be super different to the way that you have worked before. And that's confronting. There's nothing we can do about that,
Okay. So you still stick to sourcing from ads, basically?
No, we use recruiters as well. Like it's a mix, really. At the moment, I don't care how I meet these people. I just want to meet them. We do.
Yeah.
We tell clients that we're looking for people. We tell, people in our preferred networks we're looking for people. Any way is a good way.
What do you do to, I guess, have you changed anything since I don't know, because of COVID? I mean, you always said like you used to offer remote for ages anyway. Did anything change then at all?
No,
Like, did
we
you
were
have
COVID
to
ready.
make any?
No,
Yeah, okay.
we were lucky, and I do say lucky because it wasn't like I was planning for a pandemic. We just got really lucky that we already had all our systems and procedures set up. We already had, we were using all the tech. We had digital phones. We had all of the stuff. So when I made the call that we were going to close the office, back in 2020 and go home, I remember one of my staff saying to me, yeah, but it'll only be for a few days, right? And I just went, maybe we'll just see. And
I'll see you in a couple of years.
yeah,
Bye.
like it was full on. And they literally just picked up their monitors and their laptops and went home, and it was seamless.
How does the workflow run in your practice? Do you have a practice manager that runs everything?
Yeah, that happens.
Or is it all automated? Like, how does it work? What do you use?
So as far as somebody to control all of the general work, like jobs in, inquiries, blah, 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 that comes...
Making sure that it goes to the right person, the right person gets it done, it gets reviewed, like just, the factory kind of
Yeah,
approach.
that probably happens a lot at client service level, but we do have a lot of systems and processes. So we've got a lot of automation through Slack in some way, shape or form. There's a lot of automation so that it goes to the right people automatically and things happen
What does
quickly.
that mean and look like? Can you give me an example or two?
Yes. So new client, that's a perfect example. So a new client will make an inquiry, client service vet them to see, is it even the kind of client that we can help and work with? And if we can't, they tell them really openly and honestly, hey, we're not the accountant for you.
And that's admin, basically.
Pretty much, yeah. It's more than admin, though. Like when I say client service, they're amazing in that field. Like they know what our preferred client is, who to send what, all those sorts of things. But it comes from, new client forms. The client will fill it out. Then
is that Google Forms? Or
we use Office Forms now.
Well, you're not on Google, actually.
We
use
Office
which one, sorry?
Forms now.
Office Forms,
yeah. And then when the client finishes them, that goes into a Slack thread and a task is created for the right person, depending on what questions they have answered in what ways.
Okay. And that's client service that would organize that?
Client service would send them the... Well, no. Client services would send them the initial form and then the Slack automation happens. It just happens. Yeah.
Okay.
And then the staff have got tasks and then they do them. So that's an example.
Okay. And it's all within the MyOBE kind of...
No,
universe.
Practice management sets aside. Like MyOBE is awesome. We use it. We could not live our lives without it. But equally, it's not cloud. So there's a lot of things that we can't do through it.
That's what I was trying to figure out how it works.
It's more about it sets the task for someone to go then and do something. So everybody knows what step we're at.
So then what do you use for the practice management aspect?
Well, we are really using MyOBE for our, it's not CRM, but, to manage all of our clients and our contacts and where we're at. MyOB has Job Manager in it, and that's how we know for compliance work or bookkeeping or wherever we're at. That's really our Bible in that space. Is that what you're asking me?
So you are Yeah. Whether you live in kind of that, or there's a whole bunch of other integrations around besides Slack. or whether it's mostly, yeah, like CRMs and other kind of ancillary
We
stuff.
are all in with MYOB currently. As they're
Yeah.
making their transition to cloud, I'm watching with interest and we're on board with that. But the problem that I've got is when I look at other packages or whatever the story is, it's not apples and apples at the moment because
Well, like XPM, everyone seems to be moving to XPM.
it,
Well, not everyone, obviously, but a lot. There's a big
I totally
transition,
get
yeah.
why it's very attractive in a lot of, for a lot of reasons. Um, but I can't compare functionality when we're not in the cloud yet. In and that's our only piece of software that we use that's not in the cloud. Unfortunately, it's a very heavily used one. And Myob are making
Yeah,
awesome
okay.
steps. Like they are really getting there quickly. But I can't compare it
But you
yet.
couldn't, I think you told me like for you, XPM wouldn't have the same functionality as you have in
It
Maya.
doesn't.
We found a whole bunch of
Correct. So
integrations.
it doesn't have the same functionality as the current AE software. But I don't know when we go to cloud whether some of that functionality is going to be diminished either. So that's what I mean. I can't compare properly apples to apples. At the moment, I'm comparing apples to oranges. If XPM's an apple, well, it's totally online. It's got all this other benefits, whereas we're still with AE, we're part in the cloud and part in desktop. So
Yeah.
it's not comparable right now.
But you compare functionality though.
There's more
That's obviously,
functionality in
you can
AE.
still, yeah,
100%.
and that's the reason why you still wouldn't have
That's the
moved to
reason
XPM.
why my current loyalty
Yeah.
exists. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think one of the things you mentioned to me is like, look, you can do everything theoretically through XPM, but then you have a whole bunch of integrations through the marketplace, and then each thing,
Yes.
if it
If it
changes here,
breaks,
then it might affect, then that's your kind of
exactly.
dilemma
Exactly.
there.
And because
Yeah.
we do run like a well-oiled machine, I don't want, I'm constantly reviewing subscriptions and what we use to make sure we're using best practice stuff and what works for us in our practice. If you rely on too many things that talk to each other, if one makes a change, the rest of the system stops. So at the moment, AE works for us.
Okay. What's on your list at the moment that you're kind of like, oh, this is really interesting. I really want to look into that.
Ooh, that's good. I am looking for professional development software at the moment, or not software, but professional development ways we can do it differently. Are we getting the best bang for our buck? And I'm actually looking at tax nuggets at the moment, which is
Okay. Joyce.
Yeah.
Shout out to her.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I've been checking that out recently and seeing how it compares to other things.
What do you do now for your staff?
For professional development?
Professional development.
Yeah, it's a combo and it depends on what they need. Obviously, this is what I mean. We send them to at least 2 face-to-face events during the year because that's good for their networking as well. Face-to-face is only just coming back though, so they've been online, but same.
Yeah.
We have CCH, we have a knowledge shop, all of that offers webinars and that sort of thing, and we utilize lots and lots of ad hoc stuff as well. I'm pretty on to looking at what are changes, what do we need to know, where should we go.
Okay. What sort of face-to-face stuff are you saying?
I like NTAA for some members of staff because it's pretty structured. It's good for intermediates, like lower level intermediates as well.
Yeah. Okay. And then Knowledge Shop Tax Nuggets, basically that's because I know Knowledge Shop does events
Knowledge Shop does
well,
events and webinars, and you could get a certain number included in your subscription and all of that sort of thing. So it's good, So it's a mix. I'm not. I think it would be silly in the current legislative environment just to go, I'm just going to learn just from this one group. That doesn't work for me. And equally, I'm aware that all our staff learn in different ways. So we need to be.
So how do you create a structure right now? Because it's not a topic I've touched on with any other guests, which is and it's an important one, the
professional development.
How do you have a certain number of hours that you force them to go to? Do you allocate where they go to? Do you tell them to choose and go, hey, you need to fill up 20 hours for the year? Here are the options. Figure it out and show me your calendar.
We have a professional development schedule and everybody is responsible for updating it. I don't care if they just steal from their professional body PD diary and copy and paste because I don't want them doing double the work, but I need to know who's doing what. And the way I explain it to my accountants is because they do get to choose what they go to other than they have to check it. Like if there's a fee, they have to check it with me, and I
Yeah.
rarely say no. But I don't want one staff member only doing SMSF stuff. That doesn't make them a balanced accountant. And equally, what if all my seniors just decided to do SMSF stuff? That's not going to work for me either. So I have to be involved in that space about redirecting people, or having that conversation about possibly redirecting if it exists, but also in that diary, like that shared SharePoint document, I
Yeah.
look for that we're getting a lot of cross cover, who is,
Yeah, okay.
and then equally we go, right, you've attended that, you need to present to everyone about this.
Okay. Is that like whenever they've gone to a seminar, they present it at a team meeting that you guys hold, weekly or?
Yeah, so from a professional development point of view, we do structured PD 6 months of the year, weekly. So all of the professional staff will have some sort of structured PD, and that could be viewing a webinar that I've got, someone presenting from something they've been, doing a case study together, see all of the above. Nothing's
So
off the
weekly you guys all get together and do some sort of
6
PD
months of the
together.
year.
Okay. The less
Yeah.
busy business, is that how? Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. And that's just obviously because it's all remote, then you
Teams.
guys will do it all at Teams. Okay. For an hour or half an hour?
Yeah,
hour.
up to an hour. It's really about 40
Okay.
minutes, because once everyone logs on and says hi, and we talk about, we do this thing like, what's your new thing for this week? What have you learned for this week? Because we always want to be constantly learning. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. No, that's really good. Question for you, in terms of running a geographically remote team, what does it word for it now, or distributed workforce, / now hybrid models, how do you go about managing or maintaining culture and unity and direction, all of that kind of
we have
stuff?
rules. So every time we phone each other, you have to have your video on so that we get that contact. You can read those non-verbal cues, particularly when we're talking about what are we going to do about this client situation, or I need to explain to you why that's not been done quite right, those sorts of things. Like, it just works so much better. You cannot use an internal comms program like Slack or like Teams as your be all and end all, So my rule is, if you would get up and speak to the person in the office about it normally, then ring the person. Don't just send them a message.
Just on Teams, basically.
Yeah, we can do it through 3CX, which is our phone system. But yeah, we've got a lot of video options for ourselves.
What do you use for your phone system? 3CX.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Because I find it's hit and miss. Like, I call some accounting firms that will go to digital phone systems. I'm like, sometimes the connection is like a little bit scrappy.
We don't have that problem, and
because it's all
internet based. Like, obviously, when staff work from home, at times that can be an issue. But then one of the requirements of them to work from home is it's as seamless as in the office. So they need to make sure.
And you give them screens, like two screens or 3
2 screens plus their laptop.
Yeah. Okay.
Although one of my staff has 2 extra screens at the moment. We're trialing that to see how he really likes it. So we're just trialing that.
So 5 screens in total?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah.
Okay.
One vertical too, which I was really weirded out by. So we're just checking it out. We like to trial things.
It's like, buddy, I expect your productivity to be double.
That's what I said. I was like rubbing my hands together, like, this is going to be fantastic. We had a good joke about it.
Do you get them 2 keyboards as well, and to get them like
3?
Yeah. Okay. An ambidextrous course.
No joke. But with hardware, I think it is about setting each person up for their own success. Some of my staff have those, I will call them unusual keyboards, that go up in the middle, the sideways mice, like all stuff that I can't use.
They can type faster.
Exactly. That's what they need. That's what they want. I don't just go, there's your headset. We talk about what kind of headset will work for different people. Some people want noise cancellation. Some people just want one ear so they can hear what's going on. Like, you have to tailor it for the person, just like we do for our clients.
Yeah, okay. So back to your rules. You said one of the rules, like, for keeping unity and everyone engaged. Like, what do you do for engagement? So one thing is that. What else would you do?
We've just started this new thing called Wednesday Words, which means we have a quick meeting, 15 minutes every Wednesday, not work related. It's about Wednesday Words, and we have a different theme every week. So last week it was Wednesday Words of Wisdom, and everybody just shared something. So we just do quirky things like that. We have 2 team building things per year. At least once a year, we will all get together physically in some way, shape or form.
That's part of the 2 team building ones?
No. Mm-mm.
Ah,
Yeah.
okay. So what are the 2 team building / 1
So
get
at the end
together?
of the
What does
year,
that
we have
involve?
been doing an amazing race for something like 14 years or something like that. There's a trophy.
Okay.
It's very competitive. You get bragging rights for the rest of the
Gold
year. Gold
Coast?
Coast. So our
Do you
staff
organize it
members
or do you
come. I
outsource that?
organise it. It's part of my fun.
Okay.
And plus, then I can integrate special things for the staff as well that I know will interest them. Mm.
Okay. So is the Amazing Race the get together or is it
We
the
do that, and we have a Christmas
team
party.
building?
You know, we do all sorts of, like, we celebrate Melbourne Cup. Like, if there's a celebration, we're on it, basically. And our remote staff, we have to include them in various ways, shapes, or forms. Like, sometimes they come. Over the last couple of years, that's been a lot difficult with border closures and that sort of thing.
Yep.
So we might put them, Amazing Race one year, I put them in a team, and they literally were just remotely in a team. So they sat there all day, helped with
On
clues.
Google
Yeah,
Maps.
helped with clues. They got carried around on a phone. The team made like their face hair so that their phone was there. Like, it was really, yeah, it's cool. Mm.
I'm surprised. Did you get cutouts so that someone actually had to
No, we
physically hold
literally have
attach
on
the
our
phone?
photo board the cutout from it. Yeah,
Okay, so you have 2 team building. One of them is Amazing Race,
at least 2.
or is
One of
it
them's
the
Amazing Race, and this isn't
yeah?
counting like dinners and Christmas parties and stuff like that. We always celebrate Melbourne Cup, and we usually do something around this time of the year. So next week, actually, I will have every single one of my staff members in the office at the same time, which is great.
Hmm.
And
Do you bring them all in for a couple of days? Put them up in a hotel,
a week.
a week, and you put them up in a hotel, pay for the
Yep.
flights, and then just for the sake of being in the same office, or is there a purpose
Purpose.
to
So
it?
if I want to roll out anything bigger, that happens in that week, because you just get there is value in having everyone physically together. There's better, people develop more rapport. They might have
Mm.
little side conversations that they wouldn't necessarily otherwise have. That's important to me.
Yeah.
So next week when everyone's here, I'm redefining our values and missions.
Interesting. Why?
Why am I redefining? Yeah,
Yeah.
they're not changing a great deal. It's probably more about, we've got a couple of new staff on. They've done that themselves and probably had 1 or 2 people explain it, but I want to talk about it as a group and what it means.
But not for a whole week,
No,
obviously.
it'll
It
be like
sounds
a
like
session.
I
Yeah,
was,
like a half a day
yeah, I was gonna
session.
say. But then the rest of the time you just get them to work,
Yeah,
right?
some work,
But just being together in
being
the same.
together. Yeah, they might work on a new thing. I might roll out a new piece of tech or whatever, that sort of thing.
Okay. What are you rolling out
I don't
next
have
week?
one next week,
Okay.
but in the past, that's what I've done. Yeah. Mm.
Okay, so there's always activities and engagement. So weekly you've got the 15-minute
Yeah.
thing, you've got the professional development meeting as well. So there's at least 2 meetings every single week that every single staff member is involved in.
Generally, client services may not always come to PD, just some of them, depending on what it is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Generally, but also we say hello and goodbye every single morning to each other
What does that mean?
in
In the
Slack.
office
Yeah, so
or
in the office, of course, but we make it quite personal. Like, hi, what's going on? People
okay.
say, oh, how was your weekend? Like, it develops conversation.
In your team Slack thing. Okay.
Yeah, definitely. That's
What
important
else
to
do you
me.
do?
My goodness,
So you feel engages
there's
people.
probably a lot of incidental things that I haven't really thought of. But what else do we do? Oh, I make people work collaboratively together. So I don't, I don't make them just go to one person all the time. Like, I do mix it up, develop relationships, just like you'd see in the office. For me, it's about recreating. It's easy to create culture in an office environment. So how do you recreate that when you've got some staff here sometimes, some staff working from home, blah,
Yeah.
blah, blah.
Well, that's why I'm trying to
Yeah.
figure that out.
So it's just about me trying to physically think, how can we do what we would have done back then in a different way? And sometimes that's getting them here physically, but that doesn't happen because of obviously the cost. And not only that, it's about that person's time away from their family as well. You can't just get them to come up. But we celebrate our wins as well. We always talk about what our clients are doing and what's happening and celebrate wins with them. And yeah, I make sure the whole team go to awards nights and that sort of thing so that they can be surrounded by other people in our industry and see what everyone else is doing as well.
Okay. What do you do capacity-wise? Are you always over capacity?
No.
Because like if you lost the senior or intermediate, do you have to then push back work from clients or?
So, last month I went through our client base, and we're scaling down at the moment from a capacity point of view, because it's getting harder and harder to find staff that I want to employ. And in that regard, I cannot just flog the people that work for me. Like, that is not okay by me, and it's certainly not okay by them. It's not our culture.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've been scaling down clients, and I haven't taken on any new
What does
clients.
that mean, scaling down? Like getting rid of clients?
It's a nice way to say
Or
it.
scaling down the service?
No. It's about just saying we can't service you.
How do you go about having that conversation? Because you would have been able to service them had you had the staff, right?
Yes, but equally, it's about looking at the clients and what their needs are. And clients' needs and situations are constantly changing, particularly over the last few years. You know, we've had clients close down their businesses, or really they've scaled down, or their business model has changed, or whatever the story is. So, I say it a lot, we're a relationship-based firm, and that goes both ways. So yeah, I just have the conversation with them. Some clients I've even just sent an email. So one of the things is, if clients...
It's
yeah,
not you,
well,
it's me.
Pretty much.
Or is it like, actually, it's you?
It depends. I don't shy away from a discussion. So it depends. I'm pretty honest with people. And in reality, for some clients that used to be really proactive and want to work on their businesses, things have not gone well for them in the last few years, and their head's in the sand and it's not coming out. And we can only help people who want to help themselves. Yep.
Okay. So what's the conversation? Or what does the email look like?
Yeah, great question. Basically, I just say, look, end of financial year's done. It's been a really busy year. We are now reviewing the clients that we service and the way we offer those services. And then I'll talk about something specific to them, and then say, with this in mind, we aren't the accountant for you anymore. And always offer a referral or a discussion about it.
Okay. And what's the reaction that you get?
Mixed. It depends. We have really long-term clients.
Rejection.
Yeah. Some people are just fine. They're just like, oh, okay, that's really sad, but I completely understand.
What's the reason that you would give? Like, give me an example. Like, we reviewed it, blah, blah, and a specific reason to them. What would be a typical reason?
At the moment, the typical reason is, we need your accounting fees to go up, and I know that you're not in a position to pay for that.
Okay, so you use that mode, which is what I've seen. You just keep raising their fees until they leave, basically.
No, I don't. I tell them we would have to, and that's why I'm letting you go. Another reason is, hey, you just don't meet our non-negotiables anymore. These were the non-negotiables that we set up at the beginning, and you're no longer doing
wouldn't
that.
I have been meeting them? That's why they were a client, because they would always meet your non-negotiables in the past?
They would have met them, but maybe over the last 12 months they haven't.
Such as?
Getting the tax work in on time. We might still be waiting
so
for tax work. That's a really obvious one.
Gotcha. So if they failed like something on your checklist, they'd be like, sorry, we're gonna have to part ways. It doesn't work for us.
I'm pretty cutthroat about it, I suppose, but you need to be it needs to be a non-emotional decision, which is hard because we are relationship based, so we do know everything that's going on.
Because otherwise, and the main purpose of it is to ensure your staff are not under stress and you're not losing anyone.
Yeah. It's making sure that we are running and servicing our clients the very best way we can. And if I didn't scale down right now, I couldn't honestly tell you that we'd be doing that for every single client.
Yeah. What's your long-term plan with the practice, though? Because you're a planner.
I'm a planner.
Yeah.
I will sell at some stage, but what that looks like, who knows? You have to be open.
What would you do after you sell it, though?
I would stay in the firm for as long as they wanted or needed me. And after that, I think I'd just consult. So, yeah, I'd just consult to clients, businesses. I can't ever see myself just getting a normal job. I certainly can't see myself just going and working for someone else in their firm, because I'm far too opinionated for that.
But what's the tipping point for you where you're like, yep, I'll get to that stage, then I'll put it up for sale? Is it an age factor for you? Would it be a size factor?
No, none of the above. For me, it's when I stop loving this. That will be the tipping point, because I genuinely, I wouldn't work, I work hard, but smartly, but I would not work this hard if I didn't love it.
How hard do you work?
Well, I guess that's depends on the week. Like as far as some, March to June is crazy for me because it's all tax planning and a lot of complex stuff that even if my staff do the work, I need to see the clients and explain it to them in a different way. So March to June, I work really horrible hours and it's pretty taxing to me personally at the moment. No more than my staff, It just depends on the time.
You travel a lot.
I do
as
a
well
bit of
now.
traveling,
Like
I do a bit of traveling, but that makes no difference. Just take my laptop and off I go.
How does it work then? You're overseas, and then your family does their stuff in whatever country that you're doing, and then you're working Sydney, Gold Coast now.
Yeah. So we haven't travelled
cut down
overseas since pre-COVID, but at that time, when we've travelled, I've basically committed to I'm going to do 4 hours a day. And that might be 2 hours in the morning, 2 hours at night. You guys can contact me in these 2 hours. So it's sort of like deal with my team and then deal with my client stuff. But I'm really upfront. I'm away.
Are you still hands-on with all of your clients, but some of your, like, a big chunk of your clients would never even see you?
Big chunk of my clients wouldn't see me physically. Like, not a lot of people come here.
No, but to see you, interact with you in any way, like because someone on your team manages their portfolio clients and they do exclusive management, or is there a touch point everywhere? With all of your clients?
There is a touch point everywhere where if they don't reach out to me, I will reach out to them just to make sure they know I'm still here.
Got you.
But one of the questions on our checklist is, do you want to have a meeting once your tax work is done, or because we do most of it in tax planning, so the tax work is really boring because it just is what it is, and if so, who do you want to meet with? So that's where I get a little bit of corro. People generally save it up and go, oh, I've been meaning to ask her that. But otherwise, people just book appointments with me online. It's easy. I see heaps of people.
Yeah, okay. And do you charge them for that, or is it part of you do it for every appointment? Yeah, okay. Because there's always that interesting thing in the industry, like especially with Rob Nixon and everyone else, like value pricing versus time pricing. Where do you sit?
So
on
with
that kind of
phone calls and e-meetings, we are fixed pricing because we're very upfront. We want people to know what they're paying for and what that will take. But if I get into an appointment and it's virtual like this and they say, look, we just want an estimate of our capital gains tax, I'm not doing that for the 30 minutes that they've booked in for because the value of that is great, and a lot of the time the work that I need to do is great and I'm not doing it. I'm going to get one of my staff to do it. So I just reframe it in that meeting, super upfront. Hey, look, you're asking for this is what we actually have to do, and I estimate it'll take this much dollars.
And that's in a meeting that they would have booked with you, or they would have sent you an email saying, hey, we need an estimate of our... Okay. So you wouldn't charge them for the meeting to tell them that you're going to charge them how much?
No, not in that case. No. I'd factor that time in on the fee proposal.
Gotcha. So some things you value price, some things you time price.
Yeah.
It's a hybrid system.
It's a hybrid system.
Okay. So you're not a big fan of like cool value pricing. This is what we're offering you as a package, and then boom.
Correct.
This is how much we're going to charge you for the whole year.
Because I just don't think it's very rare that both people win in that situation. And I want to set my clients up for success, but equally we need to be paid for our time and value. So that's why we do it per piece.
Okay. Why do you find most of your friends operate in a similar manner in the industry, or do you find everyone's kind of moving towards the value pricing model now? Yeah.
No, I think we're probably really unusual in that space. I think a lot of people are moving to, these are my packages, fit in a box.
Yeah, that's what I see a lot, especially all the kind of new startup accounting firms that have gone out of their own younger ones.
Totally, because that's so easy.
This is what's included, this is what you get. It's much easier.
So much easier.
See, I would have figured for you, from your efficiency perspective, it would just simplify your life. Yes, there might not be, sometimes they win, sometimes you lose, but like you always win time and you always win simplicity.
Yes, but I think the key factor in that is that we're a relationships-based firm, so I want to make sure that that we're servicing our clients the best way. So what if they're on package B but they need C?
Then you add that to the package, and
but it's a difficult conversation to have when you told people that they were a B in the beginning. Do you know what I mean? So it saves a lot of all of that extra stuff. It saves reviewing.
Wouldn't you just frame it from the beginning?
Well, you would.
Saying, hey, we're going to put you on B, but if things change, the scope changes, we might need to put you onto C or B plus, the following segments.
It just doesn't... The main reason why we won't put people in a box in that degree, unless it's repetitive work, is because of the number of client, like I would say that is the number one complaint when we take a new client on that have come from that model.
Really?
Yes, definitely, without a
So they
doubt.
complain about the model.
Yeah, because
I would have thought they complain about the time model because I personally hate the time model. Like if my accountant or lawyer, like anytime I go to an accountant, anytime I go to a lawyer, I hate time because
we don't,
it means like I
but
feel
we don't tell them
pressured.
we don't tell them that we're charging for time. The only time that they are time bound is when they book a meeting for a certain time period. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
I told you before, like I feel like I have to talk faster and like, cut them off all the time because they spend too long explaining something which I already understand. I'm like, come on, time is
Yeah,
money.
no, completely.
Um,
So that's the only time that we really tell them that we're charging hourly. And to be honest, it probably is the only time we really charge hourly. Everything else is probably, when I think about it,
value
yeah.
based.
It's just that we
Yeah,
don't
okay.
decide that up front and charge them over 12 equal periods. We do it per piece.
So what is the complaint of clients coming across to you? Like when they come to you, what is the typical like top 3 reasons why they're leaving their accountant?
Well, that factor, as far as, hey, we're on a monthly fee, we don't know what we're paying for, even though I'm sure they've been told.
Even though it says in
Yes,
a
exactly. This
package
is what I
and
mean. Clients
like
don't.
it's on the
Do you
freaking
not know clients
website.
don't read stuff?
Yeah.
Number one question: did you read the email I sent you? Have you read our recent newsletter? Have you da 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 da?
Yes.
So number one is they don't know what they're paying for. Number two is we don't know whether last year's accounting fee is in there or if it's this year accounting fee. So it's total just lack of transparency, lack of understanding. They don't want to call the accountant because anything outside that package is charged additionally, including questions about the package. So that becomes an issue for them. And the third one generally is they need to understand more. Clients don't understand. And I think it's a big generalization, but maybe often with that model, clients will limit their communication because they know, well, this is my box. And I don't want to step out of that because it's going to cost me more. Whereas the way we do it, we're just really upfront about cost and they have to agree and, sign up. But it's for each piece, so there's a lot more transparency and it doesn't stop them from
But wouldn't
asking
it still
the
be the
question.
same? But they still know it'll cost them, so wouldn't it still be the same issue? Like they know it'll cost them, so they would still be hesitant
You
to
would be
ask?
no, because people don't know what it will cost them until they ask. Whereas if they're in that month fixed fee, they know it's going to cost them more than this. Whereas because they're not paying us every single month, apart from bookkeeping, advisory, repetitive stuff, they just want to know. So they're more likely to reach out. Yeah.
Interesting. Because we talked about staffing and the shortage, like I'm finding more and more people are moving to offshoring now. What are your views on that?
I did try offshoring many moons ago when it was just sort of first happening here. It did not go as well as I had hoped because of the quality of people that were available at that time.
How many moons are we talking about, just for context?
Maybe 9 years, a long time. Yeah.
Okay.
Like it was when it was first starting to happen properly.
Yep.
And I used a reputable firm and there's nothing wrong with that firm or whatever the story is. It was just at that point in time. What it did tell me was we were 100% set up for remote work of some kind. We could make it work. Our systems worked, our processes worked, everything worked. It's just about getting the right person at the other end. And that's when we started onshoring fully remote roles of any capacity.
What was the issue with the offshoring experience?
Quality of work. So they were supposed to have this team where this person would do this work and then that would get reviewed by them internally before it came to us. So it was...
So it was more of an outsource.
It was an outsourced issue. They didn't have the people power. They had staff turnover. Yeah, it was just... It just didn't work.
But if you try an offshore model where you actually employ a person, you train them the same way you would train your onshore staff that goes through all of your modules or tax nuggets or whatever.
Yeah, like those in Victoria, 100%.
Yeah, like hiring a grad, but basically...
Yes, I tried 2 different places and that was the one that we did the second time. And the quality of the candidate wasn't there. Whereas now, fast forward to 2022, and you look at offshoring and there's CPAs or there's CAs and there's different tiered people that you can get, da-da-da. Like it's very... That business model has come a long way in that period of time.
So is it something that you are considering now?
I'm not considering it. It's definitely on the radar of the list of things that I need to do. It would work for us. There's no opportunity. There's no lack of opportunity there. However, it is another, it adds another dynamic to the business.
Why is that? Because I mean, what's the difference between having a person in Philippines or India versus a person in Hobart or
Yeah,
Melbourne?
client contact. So we're relationship based. So that person would need to really, whoever does the work for the client speaks to them. We don't just do it in the background and not
But you
talk
could,
to them. You could get
but
them
you
to,
could still organize
yeah,
it,
you
yeah.
could,
Because
absolutely.
Filipinos,
Yeah, oh,
I
totally.
mean, because yeah,
Yeah, totally. But it's about that, you know, yeah, it is about that communication piece and how long it would take them to get up to scratch. And I'll openly say we haven't done this in so long. So I'm literally just talking from, um, experiences.
past
Well, no,
experience.
not even mine. Experiences that my other accounting friends are currently having with offshoring. Yeah. I'm not
Okay.
saying
And
never.
what are
Like,
the,
I honestly would not say never. In fact, it would definitely be
and
something
has it
that I look
been,
to do in the next bit.
so you're saying it's been a lot of negative experiences they've had? The
As humans, I think we like to talk about what goes wrong more than we like to
wrong.
talk about what goes right. So if
True.
I ask someone, hey, what do you think of tax nuggets as an example? Actually, that's a
Yeah.
bad example. I did ask and got raving reviews. So,
Yes.
but if you ask someone, hey, what's your experience of this? People will tell you what's wrong with it or what their negative experience has been just because they don't want to say it's awesome and then you have a poor experience and it be there, blamed on them.
Okay. But you don't have issues with it on a values thing or concept of like we shouldn't be offshoring it from a client perspective.
Uh, not really. Part of me does think that we should employ here first. However, I can't find anyone to employ here.
Yeah. Why is that? Is there like what are the biggest issues in the accounting industry? Why do we not have locals that want to work in the industry?
uh,
Has the industry changed since you started?
yes, it's changed so much. I don't no one does accounting at uni anymore. They do all of these hybrid degrees where they can do, jobs that would be perceived as being way more fun than public practice. We've got an image problem, to be blunt.
Do you, what are you basing that on? Like no one does accounting degrees or we have an image problem? What's the
Like I've spoken to universities to find out information. I'm
yeah.
involved with CPA in one of their, what do they call them? Center of Excellences. So we, some information in there, like that they've said, yeah, there's a lack of people coming through with these specific degrees. Just the market in general, public practice accounting has not got the best reputation for being fun and exciting.
No, it never had though.
No.
I can't imagine when you were going into accounting, it was fun. You wanted to work in a retail shop instead of an
Oh, while
accounting
I
firm,
was at
even though you were
uni.
doing accounting.
While I was at
Exactly.
uni. It's getting worse though. Like I think
Worse, not better.
that's my personal opinion. I do think that our industry reputation is getting worse for people burning out, being overworked, all of those sorts of things. And we're not well known for working hybrid or remote. That,
Mm.
as generalization, we're not well known for that. And that's what people want. If you're coming out of uni and you're looking at your friend who can work from home 4 days a week and only has one contact day, and you're looking at a grad job and they're saying you've got to come in 5 days a week to learn this job, why would you
Mm.
want to do that?
I don't know. Don't most young people and grads actually want to be in office? Like that's the kind of numbers that I've seen that the young people prefer the collegiate kind of going out after work to drinks and
Right.
hang out with having colleagues,
But
all
not
that kind
every
of stuff.
firm offers that culture.
Mm.
So yes, that will work, and that might work for bigger firms, 15 or more
Yeah,
people maybe. But there's a lot of micro firms out there
true.
that don't have that culture. Mm.
And they would expect the grad to come in and learn, etc.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. I'm still confused how it's changed though from back in the day because I'm thinking like accounting firms are more visible, there's branding, there's more awards, there's more tech, there's cool buzzwords and advisory and all of that sort of stuff. Whereas in the past, it used to have a very stifled kind of old man in a cardigan
I
image.
think in reality, it's partly us, but it's also partly what's going on externally that we can't control. You do a commerce degree and the world is your oyster a little bit. There's so
Mm.
many job opportunities now and so many jobs that just didn't exist 20 years ago, you know. So
It's true. The variety is
the
ridiculous.
variety
Yeah.
is ridiculous and people want something maybe. I read this article where
You
it's
can
like,
make much more money.
yeah, well,
You can make much more money on
this
OnlyFans
is what I mean.
and being an influencer, taking photos of yourself, in front of a pool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you don't have to necessarily learn to do that. Like the induction into accounting, and partly I think we've got a problem with the university study, is people generally, as grads, I'm sure, people would agree with me. Your grads come in and they go, oh, this is nothing like uni. I didn't learn this at uni. So they're not job ready. Whereas a lot of other professions are job ready. Think nursing, think medical, all those health ones are definitely job ready. But even law, like they do that PLT year or whatever, however long it is.
PQ. But that's usually after uni though.
Yeah, but it's still part of their onboarding to get to that right spot where they need to be. Whereas if someone has not worked and just done their degree and they come out as a grad, they might not have ever stepped foot in an office environment before.
So the solution is basically have work placements as part of your
That
degree?
would be what I would rally for, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Anything else you would change, or like any other? What are the other biggest issues you see in the industry?
I think our professional bodies do have a lot of change to make. We need to change the image of accounting and what accounting actually is. And I think that means that we need to get into high schools. We need to get more into unis. We need to tell people what real life accounting, whether it's public practice, whether it's commerce, whether it's whatever, what that actually looks like, because it's not what they're learning.
No, but I still I spoke to some practitioners the other day, and they said yeah, look, we get grads, but they don't want to do the job. They come in and they say this is really, really boring.
I think it's because
they've had to offshore because
I get that. I think it's because there's this disconnect between what people perceive our profession to be and what it actually is. We need to be more real about things.
Especially in the current market where they could literally work in a restaurant and earn more than they would as a grad in accounting, just sitting there doing reconciliations.
Right, exactly.
So I'm like, and the salaries, I find the salaries is another thing for grads. They're not that high in accounting. And it takes ages to grow.
That's part of my disconnect as well. Why are the salaries not high? It's because they come out of uni with a degree, but not any real life knowledge. They don't have any. Sorry, some of them don't have any soft skills. Have never spoken to a client, have never worked in an office. Like I've had grads where they literally come and they work their first week and they go home similarly to the way my children when they started prep. They're just exhausted because they haven't ever done office hours like that before. And bless them, it's not their fault, but it's like, oh my goodness, we are not preparing these people well enough.
True. Let's move on to our short-fire questions, rapid-fire questions, I should say. What's had the biggest impact on you in your life, by the way?
What? I would say...
a mentor, a book, or a person?
Definitely a person. My grandmother definitely was a massive mentor for me. Her and my grandfather owned a jack of all trades sort of shop back in that era, in Western Queensland, and just probably taught me all of my work ethic and really got me interested in business as a whole.
So you worked in that store?
No, I was very little, but I have vivid memories of being there. We'd go out there for school holidays, or it's probably even before I went to school, and I remember just watching them work and doing all of the things, and that appealed to me because they helped so many people in so many different ways.
Were your parents business owners as well, or no?
Mm-mm.
Professional. Okay, so you haven't. This is more on your grandparents' side. Yeah. Okay. What's your favorite quote?
If you're going to back anyone, back yourself. I think it really motivates you to take action. We work in this environment where sometimes doing nothing is always a choice, but not the best one. So I always use that one. If you're going to back anyone, back yourself.
What have you read, watched, or learned recently that's had the most impact?
Oh, I don't mind a good podcast. My favorite podcast is How I Work by Amantha Imber.
It's not Accountants Exposed?
Oh, sorry. My second favorite podcast. Do you want to edit that part? But I do listen to your podcast too.
So what was it called?
How I Work.
How I Work. Is that literally about how people work?
Yes, it's fascinating. She interviews all sorts of different people from all walks of life and asks them, how they save time or what their top tips are for work and that sort of thing. And she's just...
What have you learned from it?
Oh, amazing things.
What have you
Some tech
implemented from it?
stuff, probably some tech stuff. I've been listening to it for a long time, like more than a year.
Yeah.
So it would be hard for me to say, oh, I've done this. It probably forced me to zero inbox though. Really convinced me. We were on very low inbox, but it probably forced me to implement
What does
zero
zero
inbox.
inbox mean for you in terms of how you implement it?
It means that we don't have 27 emails in our inbox. We have zero. By the end of the day, we have zero. Done, gone.
And just all categorized and responded to and labeled. Is that what it means for you?
All dealt with, or we've set ourselves tasks to deal with it in the appropriate time frame.
What impact has that had?
Definitely time saving, because emails are one of, and this is why she pushed me, that podcast, to zero inbox, because there was this stat about what a distraction emails are. Most people, or I would say, most office workers sit with their emails open in the background. Then they get that little notification. And because we live in the time of now, they want to know what that is. We're too responsive. And it interrupts your work cycle. It means that if you're doing deep work, you're distracted, and then you have to come back, especially in accounting. So I've learned a lot of stuff from that podcast, and really it's about, using other people's secrets and habits of being highly effective, which is totally my jam.
What have you bought recently that's had a tremendous impact?
Cool not recently, but I'm very in love with my Remarkable. Do you know what that is?
Oh, yeah. It keeps popping up on my Facebook all the time.
I've had it for years. I'll hold it up.
But I looked up reviews, and the reviews were kind of mixed for it, because you have to either the software thing. I can't remember what it was.
It's a software.
But people didn't like something about it, the fact that you have to subscribe.
Yeah, so I bought mine before that existed, so I don't have that barrier. However, it is genuinely, like, mine might even be maybe 3 years old now. It works as well as the day I got it. It's like writing on paper. It syncs to all of the places that I need to sync to automatically. It changed my life, because really wherever I am and wherever I'm doing work, that information never gets lost, because it syncs somewhere, wherever I choose.
Okay. What's the difference between that and just using an iPad and writing there?
The biggest difference is the pen on the pad. Like, you don't get that with iPads. You get that tick, 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 tick sound when you're moving it. And this is like real handwriting. Like, you couldn't tell that I had written on this versus written on a piece of paper.
And is this your client notes, basically? When you're in a meeting, you just make your client notes?
Yeah, client notes.
And it goes into MyOb, or it goes into like Evernote?
Oh, there's lots and lots of options of the way that it
but
does.
for you, like, how do you use it?
So for us, it goes into a central location in the cloud, and then the staff save that down into AE. Remember, AE is desktop, so you can't do a lot of integrations with it.
Got you. Okay. What is something most people don't know about you?
What is something that most people don't know about me? I guess most people don't know my work journey, which we've covered today, which I found interesting. But I think the thing most people don't know about me is that, oh geez, that's a really hard one. Do you know why it's hard? It's because I'm surrounded with long-term people in my life. I feel like everyone knows a lot.
And you're pretty open about things.
I'm super open. Yeah, I don't really have anything to hide.
Well, last question. Who would you want to have a drink with the most in the world, past or present?
Yes. So apart from my family, who I'm super close with.
That's like your grandmother.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Jeez. I would want to have a drink with Julia Gillard. Strange choice. Gillard. All politics aside, she was Australia's first female Prime Minister. I feel like, that journey would have been so interesting.
Not elected, though.
True. Another part of the journey that's so interesting. How did she deal with that? Because you're right. We didn't vote for her.
No.
And you're 100% right. And I think that happens in our industry a bit too. People become bosses, and how did that happen? I don't know. I just love to pick her brain, see how she managed all those things and the lessons that she learned.
Okay. Any particular question though? Like, just more broader, like how did you manage that leadership skill?
I've got specific questions. One of them is around the fact that the Australian public didn't vote for her, and what about the stigma of being the first female Prime Minister and all of those sorts of things. But I would love to know whether there was any imposter syndrome there, because that happens a lot in the professional environment, and we didn't vote. She became, overnight, it was just like the spill, and then that was it.
Yeah. How do you deal with imposter syndrome yourself? Because you said, like, you obviously started young and had to grow a lot.
Linda Steffens, who you had on your podcast recently, and I did a Clubhouse talk about this exact thing. And for me, and I get that I might not be you know, the way normal people think or whatever. But for me, it's about keeping myself in check. Is that real? Can I do that? I also set myself different things for different years, and probably the year that I most overcome that was the year that I said, I'm just going to say yes to things this year. Anything outside my comfort zone, I'm just going to say yes.
Do you watch like The Yes Man, and then you're like, that's it. This is the year I'm doing it.
Yeah, and that's the thing, and it that was a really pivotal
Great
year.
movie.
Yeah.
Okay, what's the thing for this year, 2022?
I don't want to share that. Sorry.
Oh, what
That's
happened
the
to
taboo thing.
openness,
I know.
Kyelie?
I'm very open, but it affects other people, so I don't want to.
Gotcha. Okay, and it's a thing that you do on New Year's Day, like you set a thing for the year?
It's not a New Year's resolution. It's something that I want to have bedded down by the end of January. And sometimes it's professional, sometimes it's not. Sometimes they overlap, you know, because that's my life.
And it's one thing.
It's a concept, yeah. So whether it's a concept,
No, but
that I wanna
generally,
live
is
out,
it
it's a word, one word.
Yeah, okay. It's always a word. Yeah, okay. Interesting. Kyelie, thank you so much for your time. It's been a
Thank
pleasure.
you. Great chat.
Thank you for tuning in, and hope you enjoyed this episode. Please like our podcast and share it on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, or wherever it is you hang out so more people can benefit from these speakers. Also, please subscribe on our website so you get all of our latest episodes. And if there's anything else I can help you with, or you have speakers you'd love to hear from, or some feedback about the current episode, please feel free to send an email to michael@recruitmentexpert.com.au. Until then, take care, and I look forward to connecting with you in the future.